There everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. I'm having an awesome weekend and I wanted to stop and say hi to you. My name is Deborah. I'm the founder of DCL Ministries, the author of Beyond the Face of the Movies, and soon to be coming out, The Women God Used. Be sure to check out my website at www.dclministries.com and take a look at our thought-provoking articles or our Writer's Corner, where we feature ministries that are walking out the Great Commission. I also am the radio host of a spectacular show called Dovetails. Many of you have tuned in and I'm grateful. I hope you're inspired like I'm inspired. People that are courageous enough to come on the show and pull out all the dysfunction that's in their lives, but in the midst of that pain, in the midst of their trials, we also learn the beauty of God. And we see that God shows up when no one else can. We see that God is with people at 3 a.m. when they're about to lose their mind. And for that, I'm grateful. I'm grateful to hear it every weekend. So please tune in every Sunday, 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, while we tease your ears and warm your heart. Today, I'd also like to speak about something else that warms my heart. Many of you out there, you are walking around and you're wondering, what is God's will for my life? Well, as I was reading the Bible and then you start to look through the text and you start to look through the scripture, we actually know what God's will is for our lives. Every time I think about it, I know that the Lord wants me to be obedient to Him. I know that God's will is none shall perish, that He wants everyone to experience salvation. And on days that I'm really feeling low, I know I have the 10 Commandments. I know that I need to honor my parents. I know that I shouldn't kill. I know that I shouldn't steal. I know that I shouldn't have any grave images above the Lord, that He should be first in my life. I know these things. So the big question is, why do we continue to ask that very question, that we don't know what God's will is for our life? Well, I've been reading this wonderful book. It's called Good News for Anxious Christians, 10 Practical Things You Don't Have to Do by Philip Carey. It's a wonderful read. It's a wonderful book. And it's interesting because he believes, at least in this chapter, that the answer is to the very scripture we quote daily, Jeremiah 29:11. Many of you out there, like me, have heard Jeremiah 29:11 so often. It starts to, again, lose its luster and it starts to lose the impact that it actually should have. And it's a scripture that should be very comforting. So I'm going to reread it for us from the Bible, NIV translation. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Well, Philip Carey in this book believes that the answer is right in that scripture, because what happens in life is God says, I know the plans I have for you. God says, I know that when you're going through those horrible times in your life, if you have an addiction right now or you're going through some mental illness, God says, I know the plans I have. See, the problem is God doesn't reveal the plans in this scripture that He has for everyone. He's not going to tell you all the details, what's going to happen around your birthday, if your brother or sister is ever going to get that job. Are you ever going to be able to get past the struggles in your life? But what God does promise us is that He will prosper us, that what is going on in our lives, we're not going to be harmed by it. That's what the Lord promises. You see, in life, we want to know what's going to happen before it happens. We want the security. We want $1 million in the bank. We want to know for ourselves that everything is going to be okay. But if you really think about it, how can we build character? How do we build faith? How can we lean on the Lord and ask for discernment when we need it if we already have what we need? God says, I know the plans. You don't know the plans. He doesn't reveal the plans. Sometimes we have to be like Solomon in the Bible and ask for wisdom so that we can make better business investments. Sometimes we have to ask God for His help so that we have guidance when we're raising our children. Sometimes we have to ask God what it is that you desire for me to do in my life. And God will reveal the plans moment by moment. And sometimes it feels like the 25th hour, but God promises that their plans at the end of the day, at the end of the day, because He knows all the things are going to work together for your good. God knows there are going to be plans that prosper you. There are going to be plans that help you. There are going to be plans that spur you on to your destiny. So that's my encouragement for you today, that sometimes we're just not going to always know the details of our life, that we have to trust God in the midst of what's happening day to day, that we're not always going to know the future, but we serve a God that's omniscient. We serve a God that's omnipotent. We serve a God that's all powerful, all knowing, and we have to trust that on a daily basis. I want us to get used to praying to God every day, within the moments of the day, asking for His help, asking for His guidance. This is when we build character. This is when we have discernment and understanding and knowledge. It's through those days and weeks and months of not knowing the plans, but having to lean on the Lord for the future. So I want to encourage you about that today. And I pray that you are uplifted in this moment, that this weekend for you, even though you don't know what's going to happen, that you feel hopeful and that you can trust in a Lord that's always thinking about you. I want you to have a great week. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.